the story of the prophet begins in the quiet village of Anathoth, a place of priests nestled in the rocky hills of Benjamin. Here, a young man named Jeremiah lives a life of expected tradition until the word of the Creator arrives like a sudden wind, shifting the foundations of his world. It is the 13th year of the reign of King Josiah, a time when the kingdom of Judah is caught between the fading glory of its past and the rising shadows of the north. The young man is told that before he was even formed in the womb, he was known, and before he drew his first breath, he was set apart to be a voice to the nations. This is not a call of comfort or a promise of easy days. It is a summons to a life of standing against the tide of an entire people. The youth responds with the natural hesitation of a quiet soul, pleading that he is but a child and does not know how to speak. The answer he receives is a firm command to put away his fear, for he will go wherever he is sent and speak whatever is commanded. A hand is stretched out to touch his mouth, a gesture of physical and spiritual bonding, signifying that the words he utters will not be his own. He is appointed on this day over the nations and over the kingdoms, given the heavy task to root out and to pull down, to destroy and to throw down, but also the delicate task to build and to plant. The history of his life will be a constant tension between these two forces, the breaking of the old and the sowing of the new. Two visions are shown to him to clarify the nature of his mission. First, he sees the branch of an almond tree, the first tree to wake from the sleep of winter. It is a sign that the word is being watched over to be performed with haste. Then, he sees a seething pot in the distance, its face turned away from the north. This is the image of a boiling cauldron of conflict, ready to spill over and scald the land of Judah. Out of the north, an evil shall break forth upon all the inhabitants of the land. For the families of the kingdoms of the north are being summoned to set their thrones at the entering of the gates of Jerusalem. The judgment is coming because the people have forsaken the ancient paths, burning incense to strange gods and worshiping the works of their own hands. Jeremiah is told to gird up his loins and arise, speaking all that is commanded without being dismayed by the faces of the people. If he allows himself to be broken by their presence, he will be broken in front of them. He is promised that he will be made like a defensed city, an iron pillar, and brazen walls against the whole land, against the kings, the princes, the priests, and the people. They will fight against him, but they shall not prevail, for a presence remains with him to deliver him. This sets the stage for a life of solitary strength, where a single man must stand as an immovable wall against an empire that has lost its way. The narration turns back to the early days of the nation, remembering the kindness of youth and the love of the espousals when the people followed through the wilderness in a land that was not sown. Israel was once holiness unto the light, the firstfruits of the increase, and any who devoured her were held guilty. The Creator asks a piercing question of the current generation. What iniquity have your fathers found in me, that they are gone far from me, and have walked after vanity? and are become vain. The people no longer ask for the one who brought them up out of the land of Egypt and led them through the deserts and the pits, through a land of drought and of the shadow of death where no man dwelt. They were brought into a plentiful country to eat the fruit and the goodness thereof. But when they entered, they defiled the land and made the heritage an abomination. The priests did not ask where the light was, and they that handled the law knew nothing of its spirit. The pastors transgressed, and the prophets prophesied by Baal, walking after things that do not profit. The islands of Chittim and the plains of Kedar are searched to see if any nation has ever changed their gods, which are yet no gods. But the people of the light have changed their glory for that which does not profit. The heavens are told to be astonished and horribly afraid, for the people have committed two great evils. They have forsaken the fountain of living waters and hewed them out cisterns, broken cisterns that can hold no water. The story follows the consequence of this thirst. Is Israel a servant or a home-born slave? Why is he spoiled? The young lions roared upon him and yelled, making his land waste, and his cities burned without inhabitant. The people of Noph and Tahpanes have broken the crown of his head. This distress has been brought upon the nation, because they have forsaken the way when they were being led. Now the people look toward the way of Egypt to drink the waters of Sihor, or toward the way of Assyria to drink the waters of the river. Their own wickedness shall correct them, and their backslidings shall reprove them, showing that it is an evil and bitter thing to forsake the source of their peace. The long history of rebellion is recounted as the breaking of a yoke and the bursting of bands. The people said they would not transgress, yet upon every high hill and under every green tree they wandered. They were planted as a noble vine, wholly a right seed, yet they have turned into the degenerate plant of a strange vine. Though they wash themselves with niter and take much soap, the mark of their iniquity remains before the eyes of the vision. They deny their path, claiming they are not polluted, yet their way in the valley is plain to see. They are compared to a wild ass used to the wilderness, snuffing up the wind at her pleasure. In her occasion, who can turn her away? The people are told to withhold their foot from being unshod and their throat from thirst. But they say there is no hope, for they have loved strangers, and after them they will go. As a thief is ashamed when he is found, so is the house of Israel ashamed their kings, their princes, their priests, and their prophets. They say to a stock, "Thou art my father," and to a stone, "Thou hast brought me forth." They have turned their back and not their face, but in the time of their trouble they will cry out for salvation. The Creator asks where their gods are that they have made. Let them arise if they can save in the time of trouble. For according to the number of the cities are the gods of Judah. In vain have the children been smitten, for they received no correction. Their own sword has devoured their prophets like a destroying lion. The generation is asked to see the word. Has the light been a wilderness or a land of darkness? Why do the people say they are lords and will come no more? Can a maid forget her ornaments, or a bride her attire? Yet the people have forgotten their Maker for days. trim their way to seek love and have taught the wicked ones their ways. Also in their skirts is found the blood of the souls of the poor innocents. Yet they say, because I am innocent, surely his anger shall turn from me. They are told they shall be ashamed of Egypt as they were ashamed of Assyria, for they shall go forth with their hands upon their head, and their confidences shall not prosper. The history continues with a voice calling out to people who have walked away from a deep and ancient promise. It is the story of a marriage that has been broken, not by one mistake, but by 1,000 small turnings toward the shadows. The question is asked that if a man puts away his wife, and she goes from him and becomes another man's, shall he return unto her again? Would not that land be greatly polluted? Yet the people of Judah have played the part of the wanderer with many lovers, and still the invitation remains to return. The vision points to the high places, the bare hills where the people sat waiting for strangers like an Arab in the wilderness, polluting the land with their ways and their wickedness. Because of this, the showers have been withheld, and there has been no latter rain. Yet the people refuse to be ashamed, keeping a firm and unyielding face against the truth. In the days of King Josiah, a distinction is made between the sisters of the Spirit, Israel and Judah. Backsliding Israel had already gone up upon every high mountain and under every green tree to play the part of the faithless one. Though she was seen and given a bill of divorce, her treacherous sister Judah did not fear. She followed the same path, playing the part of the wanderer, until the land was defiled through the lightness of her heart, worshipping stones and stalks of wood. In all this, Judah did not turn with her whole heart, but feigned a return that was only on the surface. The backsliding of the north is found to be more justified than the treachery of the south, for the one was open in her turning, while the other was hidden in her deceit. A cry is sent toward the north, calling for the backsliding people to return, for the anger of the Creator will not fall forever upon those who are merciful. The only requirement is to acknowledge the iniquity and the transgression against the ancient paths. The promise is given that if they return, they will be given pastors according to the heart of the Creator, who shall feed them with knowledge and understanding. In those days, the people will no longer speak of the Ark of the Covenant. It shall not come to mind, nor shall they remember it or visit it. For the city of Jerusalem itself shall be called the throne of the light. All nations shall be gathered to the name, and they shall no more walk after the imagination of their evil hearts. The house of Judah shall walk with the house of the north, and they shall come together out of the land of the north to the inheritance given to the fathers. The voice of the people is heard upon the high places, weeping and supplications of the children of Israel, for they have perverted their way and forgotten their Maker. The invitation is repeated, "Return, ye backsliding children, and I will heal your backslidings." The people respond, acknowledging that truly in the light is the salvation of Israel, and that the hills and the multitude of mountains have provided only a truly hollow hope. Shame has devoured the labor of their fathers from their youth, their flocks, their herds, their sons, and their daughters. They lie down in their shame, and their confusion covers them, for they have sinned from their youth even unto this day. The focus then turns to the coming storm from the north, as a warning is sounded in Judah and Jerusalem. The trumpet is blown in the land, and the people are told to assemble and flee into the defensed cities. A lion is come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make the land desolate, and the cities without an inhabitant. The people are told to gird themselves with sackcloth and howl, for the fierce anger is not turned away. In that day, the heart of the king shall perish, and the heart of the princes. The priests shall be astonished, and the prophets shall wonder. A dry wind of the high places in the wilderness comes toward the daughter of the people, not to fan or to cleanse, but as a full wind of judgment. The enemy comes up like clouds, and his chariots are like a whirlwind. His horses are swifter than eagles. Woe is pronounced upon the people, for they are spoiled. Jerusalem is urged to wash her heart from wickedness, that she may be saved. How long shall vain thoughts lodge within her? A voice declares from Dan, and publishes affliction from Mount Ephraim. Watchers come from a far country, and give out their voice against the cities of Judah. As keepers of a field, they are against her round about, because she has been rebellious. Her own way and her own doings have procured these things. This is her wickedness, and it is bitter, reaching even unto her heart. Visionary cries out in his own distress. His heart panted, and his soul pained at the sound of the trumpet and the alarm of war. Destruction upon destruction is cried, for the whole land is spoiled. Suddenly are the tents spoiled, and the curtains in a moment. He asks how long he must see the standard and hear the sound of the trumpet. The answer is that the people are foolish and have not known the light. They are sottish children with no understanding. They are wise to do evil, but to do good they have no knowledge. The vision shows the earth as without form and void, and the heavens having no light. The mountains trembled, and all the hills moved lightly. There was no man, and all the birds of the heavens were fled. The fruitful place was a wilderness, and all the cities were broken down at the presence of the fierce anger. The whole land shall be desolate, yet a full end will not be made. For this the earth shall mourn, and the heavens above be black. The whole city shall flee for the noise of the horsemen and bowmen. They shall go into thickets and climb up upon the rocks. Every city shall be forsaken, and not a man dwell therein. And when the daughter of the people is spoiled, what will she do? Though she clothes herself with crimson and decks herself with ornaments of gold, and though she rents her face with painting, in vain shall she make herself fair. Her lovers will despise her and seek her life. The voice is heard as of a woman in travail, the anguish as of her that brings forth her first child, the voice of the daughter of Zion that bewails herself and spreads her hands, saying, Woe is me now, for my soul is wearied because of murderers. The history concludes with a search through the streets of Jerusalem to see if a single man can be found who executes judgment and seeks the truth. If one such man is found, the city will be pardoned. But even though they say, The light liveth, surely they swear falsely. The eyes of the vision are upon the truth, but the people have refused to receive correction. They have made their faces harder than a rock and refused to return. The poor are foolish and know not the way. But even the great men have altogether broken the yoke and burst the bonds. Therefore, a lion out of the forest shall slay them, and a wolf of the evenings shall spoil them. A leopard shall watch over their cities, and everyone that goes out thence shall be torn in pieces, because their transgressions are many and their backslidings are increased. The history deepens as a search begins through the houses of the wealthy and the stalls of the poor, looking for a reason to stay the coming storm. The question is asked why the people should be pardoned when their children have forsaken the ancient ways and sworn by those that are no gods. When they were fed to the full, they turned toward the houses of strangers, moving like well-fed horses in the morning, everyone following after his neighbor's interest. The decree is spoken for the fences to be scaled and the battlements to be taken away, for they are not the property of the light. The house of Israel and the house of Judah have dealt very treacherously, belied the truth, and said, "It is not he, neither shall evil come upon us, neither shall we see sword nor famine." They believe the prophets are but wind, and that the word is not in them. But the word is turned into a fire, and the people into wood, and it shall devour them. A nation is summoned from far, an ancient nation whose language is unknown and whose speech cannot be understood. Their quiver is as an open sepulchre, and they are all mighty men. They shall eat up the harvest and the bread which the sons and daughters should eat. They shall eat up the flocks and the herds. They shall eat up the vines and the fig trees, and they shall impoverish the fenced cities with the sword. Yet, even in those days, a full end will not be made. When the people ask why these things have been done, the answer is simple. Just as they have forsaken the source of their life and served strange gods in their own land, so shall they serve strangers in a land that is not theirs. The people are described as foolish and without understanding, having eyes that see not and ears that hear not. They are asked if they do not fear the one who placed the sand for the bound of the sea by a perpetual decree, that it cannot pass it. Though the waves thereof toss themselves, they cannot prevail. Though they roar, yet can they not pass over it. But the people have a revolting and a rebellious heart. They are gone. They do not say in their heart, "Let us now fear the light, that giveth rain, both the former and the latter, in his season." Their iniquities have turned away these things, and their sins have withholden good things from them. Among the people are found wicked men who lay wait as he that sets snares. They set a trap to catch men. As a cage is full of birds, so are their houses full of deceit. They are waxen fat and shine, surpassing the deeds of the wicked. They judge not the cause of the fatherless, yet they prosper. A wonderful and horrible thing is committed in the land. The prophets prophesy falsely, and the priests bear rule by their means, and the people love to have it so. The question remains, what will be done in the end thereof? The children of Benjamin are told to gather themselves to flee out of the midst of Jerusalem, to blow the trumpet in Tekoa, and set up a sign of fire in Beth-Haxarim. For evil appears out of the north, and great destruction. The daughter of Zion is compared to a comely and delicate woman, but the shepherds with their flocks shall come unto her. They shall pitch their tents against her round about. The command is given to prepare war against her, to arise and go up at noon, or even by night to destroy her palaces. As a fountain casts out her waters, so the city casts out her wickedness. Violence and spoil are heard in her. The people are warned to be instructed, lest the soul depart from them and the land be made desolate. They shall thoroughly glean the remnant of Israel as a vine. The hand is turned back as a grape gatherer into the baskets. But to whom shall the word be spoken? Their ear is uncircumcised, and they cannot hearken. The word is unto them a reproach, and they have no delight in it. The fury of the vision is full, ready to be poured out upon the children abroad, and upon the assembly of young men together. The husband with the wife shall be taken, the aged with him that is full of days. Their houses shall be turned unto others, with their fields and wives together. From the least of them even unto the greatest, everyone is given to covetousness. And from the prophet even unto the priest, everyone deals falsely. They have healed the hurt of the daughter of the people slightly, saying, Peace, peace, when there is no peace. Were they ashamed when they had committed abomination? Nay, they were not at all ashamed, neither could they blush therefore. They shall fall among them that fall. The people are told to stand in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and they shall find rest for their souls. But they said, We will not walk therein. Watchmen were set over them to listen to the sound of the trumpet, but they said, We will not hearken. Therefore, the earth is called to hear. Evil is brought upon this people, even the fruit of their thoughts, because they have not hearkened unto the law. Incense from Sheba and the sweet cane from a far country are of no purpose. The burnt offerings are not acceptable. Stumbling blocks are laid before the people, and the fathers and the sons together shall fall upon them. A people comes from the north country, a great nation raised from the sides of the earth. They lay hold on bow and spear. They are cruel and have no mercy. Their voice roars like the sea, and they ride upon horses, set in array as men for war. At the report of them, the hands wax feeble and anguish takes hold. The people are told not to go forth into the field nor walk by the way, for the sword of the enemy and fear is on every side. The daughter of the people is told to gird herself with sackcloth and wallow in ashes, making mourning as for an only son, for the spoiler shall suddenly come. Jeremiah is set as a tower and a fortress among the people, that he may know and try their way. They are all grievous revolters, walking with slanders. They are brass and iron, they are all corrupters. The bellows are burned, the lead is consumed of the fire, the founder melts in vain, for the wicked are not plucked away. They shall be called reprobate silver, because the light has rejected them. The metal has been put into the furnace, but the impurities are so deep that the heat cannot separate the dross from the silver. The movement ends with this image of the discarded metal, a people who have been through the fire of correction and emerged unchanged, left to be cast aside as something that has lost its value. the history turns toward the very gates of the temple, the place where the people feel most secure. Jeremiah is commanded to stand in the entrance of the house of the Creator and cry out to all who enter to worship. He tells them to amend their ways and their doings, and only then will they be allowed to dwell in this place. A warning is issued against trusting in lying words, specifically the repeated chant, "The temple of the light, the temple of the light, the temple of the light," are these. The people believe that the mere existence of the stone building acts as a shield against the consequences of their lives. But they are told that if they truly execute judgment between a man and his neighbor, if they oppress not the stranger, the fatherless, and the widow, and shed not innocent blood, then they will remain. The question is asked with a piercing clarity: will ye steal, murder, and commit adultery, and swear falsely, and burn incense unto Baal, and walk after other gods whom ye know not, and come and stand before me in this house, which is called by my name, and say, we are delivered to do all these abominations? The temple is revealed to have become a den of robbers in the eyes of the vision. The people are told to go now to Shiloh, the place where the name was set at the first, and see what was done to it because of the wickedness of the people. Because they have done all these works and refused to hear when they were called, the same fate is decreed for the house in which they trust. It will be cast out of sight, just as the whole seed of Ephraim was cast out before. Jeremiah is told not to pray for this people, neither to lift up a cry nor prayer for them, for he will not be heard. The reason is seen in the very streets of the cities. The children gather wood, the fathers kindle the fire, and the women knead their dough to make cakes to the Queen of Heaven, pouring out drink offerings to other gods to provoke their own shame. Do they provoke the light to anger? Nay, they provoke themselves to the confusion of their own faces. Therefore, the anger and fury shall be poured out upon this place, upon man, and upon beast, and upon the trees of the field, and upon the fruit of the ground, and it shall burn, and shall not be quenched. The burnt offerings and sacrifices are of no use when obedience was the thing commanded from the day they were brought out of Egypt. But the people hearkened not, nor inclined their ear, but walked in the counsels, and in the imagination of their evil heart, going backward and not forward. The generation is told to cut off their hair and cast it away, taking up a lamentation on high places. The children of Judah have done evil, setting their abominations in the house, which is called by the name, to pollute it. They have built the high places of Tophet in the valley of the son of Hinnom, to burn their sons and their daughters in the fire. Therefore the days come when it shall no more be called Tophet, nor the valley of the son of Hinnom, but the valley of slaughter, for they shall bury in Tophet until there is no place. The carcasses of this people shall be meat for the fowls of the heaven and for the beasts of the earth, and none shall fray them away. The voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, shall be made to cease from the cities, for the land shall be desolate. The history records a time when even the bones of the kings, the princes, the priests, and the prophets shall be brought out of their graves. They shall be spread before the sun, the moon, and all the host of heaven, whom they have loved and served, and after whom they have walked. They shall not be gathered nor buried. They shall be for dung upon the face of the earth. Death shall be chosen rather than life by all the residue of them that remain in this evil family. The people fall and do not arise. They turn away and do not return. Why then is this people of Jerusalem slidden back by a perpetual backsliding? They hold fast deceit and refuse to return. No man repented him of his wickedness, saying, "What have I done?" Everyone turned to his course, as the horse rushes into the battle. Even the birds of the air know their appointed times. The stork in the heaven knows her seasons, and the turtle and the crane and the swallow observe the time of their coming. But the people know not the judgment of the light. They claim to be wise because the law is with them, but the pen of the scribes is in vain. The wise men are ashamed and dismayed. They have rejected the word, and what wisdom is in them? Therefore, their wives shall be given unto others, and their fields to them that shall inherit them. Everyone is given to covetousness, and everyone deals falsely. They have healed the hurt of the daughter of the people slightly, saying, "Peace, peace," when there is no peace. The harvest is past, the summer is ended, and the people are not saved. For the hurt of the daughter of the people, the visionary is hurt, he is black, and astonishment has taken hold of him. He asks, "Is there no balm in Gilead? Is there no physician there?" Why then is the health of the daughter of his people not recovered? He wishes that his head were waters, and his eyes a fountain of tears, that he might weep day and night for the slain of the daughter of his people. He wishes for a lodging place of wayfaring men in the wilderness, that he might leave his people and go from them. For they are all an assembly of treacherous men. They bend their tongues like their bow for lies. They are not valiant for the truth upon the earth. They proceed from evil to evil, and they know not the source of their life. Everyone is told to take heed of his neighbor, and trust not in any brother, for every brother will utterly supplant, and every neighbor will walk with slanders. They will deceive everyone his neighbor, and will not speak the truth. They have taught their tongue to speak lies, and weary themselves to commit iniquity. Their habitation is in the midst of deceit. Through deceit they refuse to know the truth. Therefore, the metal is melted and tried. Their tongue is as an arrow shot out. It speaks deceit. One speaks peaceably to his neighbor with his mouth, but in heart he lays his weight. For the mountains is taken up a weeping, and for the habitations of the wilderness a lamentation, because they are burned up. Both the fowl of the heavens and the beast are fled, they are gone. Jerusalem is made heaps and a den of dragons, and the cities of Judah are desolate. The movement concludes with the call for the mourning women to come, that they may take up a wailing for the people. A voice of wailing is heard out of Zion. How are we spoiled? We are greatly confounded. Death is come up into the windows, and is entered into the palaces, to cut off the children from without, and the young men from the streets. Even the carcasses of men shall fall as dung upon the open field, and as the handful after the harvestmen, and none shall gather them. The wise man is told not to glory in his wisdom, neither the mighty man in his might, nor the rich man in his riches. But let him that glories glory in this, that he understands and knows the one who executes loving kindness, judgment, and righteousness in the earth. The days come when all the circumcised with the uncircumcised shall be punished. For all these nations are uncircumcised, and all the house of Israel are uncircumcised in the heart. The history turns away from the crowded city streets to the quiet majesty of the heavens, as a voice warns the people not to learn the way of the nations. They are told not to be dismayed at the signs of heaven, though the nations are terrified by them. The customs of the people are revealed to be empty. One cuts a tree out of the forest, the work of the hands of the workmen with the axe. They deck it with silver, and with gold they fasten it with nails, and with hammers, that it move not. These idols are upright as the palm tree, but they speak not. They must needs be born, because they cannot go. They are told not to be afraid of them, for they can do no evil, neither also is it in them to do good. There is none like the majesty of the vision. The Creator is great, and his name is great in might. The idols of the world are the work of the cunning men, clothed in blue and purple, yet they are all vanity. But the light is the true God, the living God, and an everlasting King. At his wrath the earth shall tremble, and the nations shall not be able to abide his indignation. He has made the earth by his power. He has established the world by his wisdom, and has stretched out the heavens by his discretion. When he utters his voice, there is a multitude of waters in the heavens, and he causes the vapors to ascend from the ends of the earth. He makes lightnings with rain, and brings forth the wind out of his treasures. Every man is brutish in his knowledge. Every founder is confounded by the graven image, for his molten image is falsehood, and there is no breath in them. They are vanity, and the work of errors. In the time of their visitation, they shall perish. The command is given to gather up the wares out of the land, for the inhabitant is about to be slung out at this once. Woe is pronounced because of the hurt. The wound is grievous, but the soul says, truly this is a grief, and I must bear it. The tabernacle is spoiled, and all the cords are broken. The children are gone forth, and are not. There is none to stretch forth the tent any more, and to set up the curtains, for the pastors are become brutish, and have not sought the light, therefore they shall not prosper, and all their flocks shall be scattered. Behold, the noise of the brute is come, and a great commotion out of the north country, to make the cities of Judah desolate, and a den of dragons. The visionary acknowledges that the way of man is not in himself. It is not in man that walks to direct his steps. He asks for correction, but with judgment, not in anger, lest he be brought to nothing. The word then comes concerning the ancient covenant made in the day. The people were brought out of the iron furnace of Egypt. They were told to obey the voice and do all that was commanded, so that they might be a people and have a land flowing with milk and honey. But they obeyed not, nor inclined their ear, but walked everyone in the imagination of their evil heart. A conspiracy is found among the men of Judah and the inhabitants of Jerusalem. They are turned back to the iniquities of their forefathers, which refused to hear the words. they went after other gods to serve them. Therefore, evil is brought upon them, which they shall not be able to escape. And though they shall cry, they will not be heard. The cities of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem shall go and cry unto the gods, unto whom they offer incense. But they shall not save them at all in the time of their trouble. Jeremiah is told again not to pray for this people, for their many gods, as many as the cities of Judah, cannot help them. The beloved of the vision has done lewdness with many, and the holy flesh is passed from her. When she does evil, then she rejoices. The light called her name a green olive tree, fair, and of goodly fruit. But with the noise of a great tumult he has kindled fire upon it, and the branches of it are broken. The Creator of hosts, that planted the tree, has pronounced evil against it. The history then reveals a dark plot against the messenger himself. The men of Anathoth, his own neighbors and kinsmen, seek his life, saying, "Prophesy not in the name of the light, that thou die not by our hand." Jeremiah was like a lamb or an ox that is brought to the slaughter. He knew not that they had devised devices against him, saying, "Let us destroy the tree with the fruit thereof, and let us cut him off from the land of the living, that his name may be no more remembered." The visionary pleads his cause, asking why the way of the wicked prospers, and why they are all happy that deal very treacherously. They are planted, and they have taken root, they grow, and they bring forth fruit. They are near in their mouth, but far from their reigns. He asks how long the land shall mourn, and the herbs of every field wither, for the wickedness of them that dwell therein. The beasts are consumed, and the birds, because they said, "He shall not see our last end." The answer he receives is a sobering challenge. If thou hast run with the footmen, and they have wearied thee, then how canst thou contend with horses? And if in the land of peace, wherein thou trustedst, they wearied thee, then how wilt thou do in the swelling of Jordan? Even his own brethren and the house of his father have dealt treacherously with him. They have called a multitude after him. He is warned not to believe them, though they speak fair words. The heritage is forsaken, and the dearly beloved of the soul is given into the hand of her enemies. The heritage is unto the vision as a lion in the forest. It cries out against the light, therefore it is hated. The heritage is as a speckled bird. The birds round about are against her. Many pastors have destroyed the vineyard and trodden the portion underfoot. They have made the pleasant portion a desolate wilderness. The spoilers are come upon all high places through the wilderness. The sword shall devour from the one end of the land, even to the other end of the land. No flesh shall have peace. They have sown wheat, but shall reap thorns. They have put themselves to pain, but shall not profit. They shall be ashamed of their revenues because of the fierce anger. A word is spoken against all the evil neighbors that touch the inheritance. They shall be plucked out of their land, and the house of Judah shall be plucked out from among them. But after they are plucked out, compassion will be shown, and they will be brought again, every man to his heritage, and every man to his land. If they will diligently learn the ways of the people, to swear by the name, as they taught the people to swear by Baal, then shall they be built in the midst of the people. But if they will not obey, that nation will be utterly plucked up and destroyed. The history moves forward with the sign of the linen girdle, which Jeremiah is told to buy and put upon his loins, but not to put it in water. He is then told to take the girdle to the river Euphrates and hide it there in a hole of the rock. After many days, he returns to dig up the girdle, and behold, the girdle is marred. It is profitable for nothing. This is the sign of the pride of Judah and the great pride of Jerusalem. This evil people, which refuse to hear the words and walk in the imagination of their heart, shall even be as this girdle, which is good for nothing. For as the girdle cleaves to the loins of a man, so the whole house of Israel and Judah were caused to cleave unto the name, that they might be a people and a praise and a glory. But they would not hear. The movement concludes with the image of every bottle being filled with wine, which the people take as a common saying, but it is a sign of a coming drunkenness of spirit. The light will fill all the inhabitants of the land, the kings, the priests, and the prophets, with drunkenness, and dash them one against another, even the fathers and the sons together, without pity or mercy. The history moves into a season of deep silence and dry earth, as a word comes concerning the dearth. The ground is chapped and cracked, for there has been no rain in the land. The plowmen are ashamed and cover their heads. Even the hind in the field calves and forsakes her young, because there is no grass, and the wild asses stand in the high places, snuffing up the wind like dragons, their eyes failing, because there is no greenery. The people cry out for help, acknowledging that their backslidings are many, and they have sinned against the light. They ask why the hope of Israel should be as a stranger in the land, or as a wayfaring man that turns aside to tarry only for a night. They wonder why the strength of the nation should be as a man astonished, as a mighty man that cannot save, when the name is called upon them. The response to this plea is a reminder of how the people have loved to wander and have not refrained their feet. Therefore, the many offerings and sacrifices will not be accepted. The people will be consumed by the sword, by the famine, and by the pestilence. Jeremiah pleads that the prophets say unto the people, they shall not see the sword or famine, but shall have assured peace. But the word reveals that these prophets prophesy lies. They speak a false vision and a thing of naught, the deceit of their own heart. Both the prophet and the priest go about into a land they know not, and there is no healing for the hurt. The visionary asks if the souls of the people are utterly abhorred, for they looked for peace, and there is no good, and for the time of healing, and behold, there is only trouble. A final decree is spoken. Even if the great leaders of the past, like Moses or Samuel, stood before the vision, the mind could not be toward this people. They are to be cast out to their respective fates, such as are for death, to death, and such as are for the sword, to the sword, and such as are for the famine, to the famine, and such as are for the captivity, to the captivity. 4 kinds of destroyers are appointed: the sword to slay, the dogs to tear, the fowls of the heaven, and the beasts of the earth to devour and destroy. Manasseh, the king who filled the streets with innocent blood, is remembered as the reason for this removal into all kingdoms. The people have forsaken the source of their life and gone backward, and the hand is stretched out to destroy. For the Creator is weary with repenting. The people are fanned with a fan in the gates of the land. They are bereaved of children and destroyed. Their widows are increased more than the sand of the seas, and a spoiler is brought at noonday against the mother of the young men. She that has borne 7 languishes and has given up the ghost, her son is gone down while it was yet day. Jeremiah laments his own birth, calling himself a man of strife and a man of contention to the whole earth. He has neither lent on usury, nor have men lent to him on usury. Yet every one of them does curse him. He has promised that the remnant shall be well with him, and that the enemy shall be caused to entreat him well in the time of evil and in the time of affliction. The visionary pleads for his own soul, remembering that he found the words and did eat them, and they were the joy and rejoicing of his heart. He sat not in the assembly of the mockers, but sat alone because of the hand that was upon him, for he was filled with indignation. He asks why his pain is perpetual, and his wound incurable, which refuses to be healed. He is told that if he returns and takes forth the precious from the vial, he shall be as the mouth of the Spirit. The people shall return unto him, but he shall not return unto them. He will be made unto the people a fenced brazen wall. They shall fight against him, but they shall not prevail. For he will be delivered out of the hand of the wicked, and redeemed out of the hand of the terrible. A command is given to the messenger not to take a wife, nor to have sons or daughters in this place. For the children that are born, and the parents that beget them, shall die of grievous deaths. They shall not be lamented, neither shall they be buried, but shall be as dung upon the face of the earth. He is told not to enter into the house of mourning, nor go to lament or bemoan them. For peace has been taken away from this people, even loving kindness and mercies. Both the great and the small shall die in this land, and no man shall cut himself or make himself bald for them. Neither shall he go into the house of feasting to sit with them to eat and to drink. The voice of mirth and the voice of gladness shall be caused to cease in this place before the eyes of the generation. When the people ask why all this great evil is pronounced against them, they are told it is because their fathers forsook the ancient ways and walked after other gods, and the current generation has done worse than their fathers. Everyone walks after the imagination of his evil heart, that they may not hearken. Therefore, they shall be cast out into a land that they know not, where they shall serve other gods day and night. But a day will come when it shall no more be said, the light liveth that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt. But the light liveth that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north, and from all the lands whither he had driven them. They will be brought again into their land that was given unto their fathers. Before that day, many fishers shall be sent to fish them, and many hunters to hunt them from every mountain, and from every hill and out of the holes of the rocks. The eyes are upon all their ways, they are not hid, nor is their iniquity concealed. Their iniquity and their sin will be recompensed double, because they have defiled the land with the carcasses of their detestable and abominable things. The visionary calls the Creator his strength and his fortress and his refuge in the day of affliction. The Gentiles shall come from the ends of the earth and say, "Surely our fathers have inherited lies, vanity, and things wherein there is no profit. Shall a man make gods unto himself, and they are no gods? Therefore they shall be made to know the hand and the might, and they shall know the name." The movement concludes with the image of the sin of Judah written with a pen of iron and with the point of a diamond. It is graven upon the table of their heart and upon the horns of the altars. While their children remember their altars and their groves by the green trees upon the high hills, the mountain in the field, and all the treasures are given to the spoil. The people shall discontinue from the heritage that was given them, and they shall be caused to serve their enemies in a land which they know not. For a fire has been kindled in the anger, which shall burn forever. This is the weight of the written sin, a mark that cannot be washed away by the soap of the world or the empty promises of the false prophets. The history turns to the heart of the person and the source of their trust. A warning is issued against the man who trusts in man and makes flesh his arm, for his heart departs from the light. He shall be like the heath in the desert, and shall not see when good comes. He shall inhabit the parched places in the wilderness, in a salt land, and not inhabited. But blessed is the man that trusts in the light, and whose hope the light is. He shall be as a tree planted by the waters, and that spreads out her roots by the river. He shall not see when heat comes, but his leaf shall be green. He shall not be careful in the year of drought, neither shall cease from yielding fruit. The heart is revealed to be deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. Who can know it? The Creator searches the heart and tries the reins, even to give every man according to his ways and according to the fruit of his doings. As the partridge sits on eggs and hatches them not, so he that gets riches, and not by right, shall leave them in the midst of his days, and at his end shall be a fool. A glorious high throne from the beginning is the place of the sanctuary. All they that forsake the source shall be ashamed, and they that depart shall be written in the earth, because they have forsaken the fountain of living waters. The visionary cries out to be healed and saved, for his praise is in the one he follows. Jeremiah is then commanded to stand in the gates of the children of the people, and in all the gates of Jerusalem. He is to tell the kings of Judah and all the inhabitants to take heed to themselves, and bear no burden on the Sabbath day, nor bring it in by the gates of the city. They are not to carry forth a burden out of their houses on the Sabbath day, nor do any work, but hallow the Sabbath, as was commanded to the fathers. But the fathers obeyed not, neither inclined their ear, but made their neck stiff, that they might not hear nor receive instruction. If the people will now diligently hearken, and bring in no burden through the gates, then shall there enter into the gates of the city kings and princes sitting upon the throne of David. The city shall remain forever, and people shall come from the cities of Judah, and from the plain, and from the mountains, bringing burnt offerings and sacrifices of praise. But if they will not hearken to hallow the Sabbath day, and not to bear a burden, then a fire will be kindled in the gates of the city. It shall devour the palaces of Jerusalem, and it shall not be quenched. The story then moves to the house of the potter, where Jeremiah is sent to watch a craftsman at work. He sees the potter wrought a work on the wheels, and the vessel that he made of clay was marred in the hand of the potter. So he made it again another vessel, as seemed good to the potter to make it. The word comes then, O house of Israel, cannot I do with you as this potter? Behold, as the clay is in the potter's hand, so are ye in mine hand. At what instant a nation or kingdom is spoken of to pluck up, and to pull down, and to destroy. If that nation turn from their evil, the promised punishment will be withheld. And at what instant a nation is spoken of to build and to plant, if it do evil in the sight, and obey not the voice, then the promised good will be withheld. The men of Judah are told that a device is being framed against them. They are urged to return every one from his evil way, and make their ways and their doings good. But they said, there is no hope, but we will walk after our own devices, and we will every one do the imagination of his evil heart. The Virgin of Israel has done a very horrible thing. Will a man leave the snow of Lebanon, which comes from the rock of the field? Or shall the cold, flowing waters that come from another place be forsaken? Because the people have forgotten the ancient paths and have burned incense to vanity, they have caused themselves to stumble in their ways from the ancient paths, to walk in paths in a way not cast up. Their land is made desolate and a perpetual hissing. Everyone that passes by shall be astonished and wag his head. They shall be scattered as with an east wind before the enemy, and the face shall be hidden from them in the day of their calamity. Then the people devised devices against Jeremiah, saying, Come, and let us devise devices against Jeremiah. For the law shall not perish from the priest, nor counsel from the wise, nor the word from the prophet. They sought to smite him with the tongue, and not give heed to any of his words. The visionary cries out, Give heed to me, and hearken to the voice of them that contend with me. Shall evil be recompensed for good? For they have digged a pit for my soul. He remembers how he stood before to speak good for them, and to turn away the wrath. He asks that their conspiracy against him be remembered, and that they be dealt with in the time of anger. The history takes a physical turn as Jeremiah is told to get a potter's earthen bottle and take the ancients of the people and the ancients of the priests. They go forth unto the valley of the son of Hinnom, which is by the entry of the east gate. There he proclaims the words, warning that a place of slaughter is coming. He is to break the bottle in the sight of the men that go with him and say, Thus will I break this people and this city, as one breaketh a potter's vessel that cannot be made whole again. They shall bury in Tophet until there be no place to bury. The houses of Jerusalem and the houses of the kings of Judah shall be defiled as the place of Tophet, because of all the houses upon whose roofs they have burned incense unto all the host of heaven. Jeremiah returns from Tophet and stands in the court of the house of the Creator. He tells all the people that because they have hardened their necks and would not hear the words, all the evil pronounced against the city will be brought upon it, and upon all her towns. This act of breaking the vessel is the lore of the finality of judgment. It shows that there is a point where the clay is no longer soft enough to be reshaped by the potter's hand, but has become brittle and fixed in its rebellion, ready only to be shattered into shards that can never be mended. The history takes a dark turn into the depths of the city's resistance. Pashur, the son of Immer the priest, who was also the chief governor in the house of the Creator, heard the words of the broken vessel. In his anger, he smote the messenger and put him in the stocks that were in the high gate of Benjamin. Jeremiah remained there through the long, cold night, a spectacle of shame before the people he sought to warn. When the morning came and Pashur brought him forth from the stocks, the name of the governor was changed in the vision to Magar-Missabib, which means fear roundabout. The decree was spoken that Pashur would become a terror to himself and to all his friends. They would fall by the sword of their enemies, and his eyes would behold it. All Judah would be given into the hand of the king of Babylon, and the riches of the city, the labors, and the precious things would be given as spoil. Pashur and all who dwelt in his house would go into captivity and die in a strange land, for he had prophesied lies to the people. In the quiet after this confrontation, the inner struggle of the messenger is revealed. He cries out that he was deceived and that the word was stronger than he. Because he spoke of violence and spoil, the word was made a reproach and a derision daily. He thought to himself that he would not make mention of the name nor speak any more in that name. But the word was in his heart as a burning fire shut up in his bones. He was weary with forbearing and could not stay silent. He heard the defaming of many and the whispers of his familiars, who watched for his halting. Hopping, he would be enticed so they could take their revenge. But he found a sense of a mighty, terrible presence standing with him, a strength that would cause his persecutors to stumble and not prevail. They would be greatly ashamed, for their everlasting confusion would never be forgotten. The narrative then plunges into a moment of deep despair. The visionary curses the day he was born, wishing that the day his mother bore him had not been blessed. He curses the man who brought tidings to his father, saying a man-child was born, making him very glad. He wishes that he had been slain in the womb, that his mother might have been his grave, and asks why he came forth to see labor and sorrow, that his days should be consumed with shame. This is the weight of the solitary path, where the burden of the message feels heavier than the life of the one carrying it. Yet, even in this darkness, the story moves forward as King Zedekiah sends messengers to ask if the Creator will deal with the city according to all his wondrous works. For Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, makes war against them. The answer is a hard truth. The weapons of war in the hands of the people will be turned back. The Creator himself will fight against the city with an outstretched hand and a strong arm, in anger and in great fury. He will smite the inhabitants, both man and beast, with a great pestilence. pestilence. Those who survive the pestilence, the sword, and the famine, including King Zedekiah and his servants, will be delivered into the hand of the king of Babylon, who shall smite them with the edge of the sword without pity or memory of mercy. The people are given a choice between the way of life and the way of death. He that abides in the city shall die, but he that goes out and falls to the Chaldeans that besiege the city shall live, and his life shall be unto him for a prey. The face of the vision is set against the city for evil, and not for good. It shall be given into the hand of the king of Babylon, and he shall burn it with fire. The house of the king of Judah is told to execute judgment in the morning, and deliver him that is spoiled out of the hand of the oppressor, lest the fury go out like fire that none can quench. The city that dwells in the valley and the rock of the plain, which says, "Who shall come down against us?" is warned that they will be punished according to the fruit of their doings. The forest of the city will be kindled, and it shall devour all things round about. Jeremiah is told to go down to the house of the king and speak this word. If the king will execute judgment and righteousness, and do no wrong to the stranger, the fatherless, nor the widow, then shall there continue to be kings sitting upon the throne of David, riding in chariots and on horses. But if they will not hear, the house shall become a desolation. The land of Gilead and the head of Lebanon are compared to a wilderness and cities not inhabited. Preparations are made to destroy the cedar houses, and many nations shall pass by the city and ask why such a thing was done to this great city. The answer will be that they have forsaken the covenant and worshipped other gods. The people are told not to weep for the dead king, Josiah, but to weep bitterly for him that goes away into captivity, for he shall return no more nor see his native country. Shallum, the son of Josiah, shall die in the place whither they have led him captive. Woe is pronounced unto him that builds his house by unrighteousness and his chambers by wrong, using his neighbor's service without wages, and giving him naught for his work. The king who said, "I will build me a wide house and large chambers," and sealed it with cedar, and painted it with vermilion, is asked if he reigns, because he clothes himself in cedar. His father Josiah did judgment and justice, and then it was well with him. He judged the cause of the poor and needy. But the eyes and heart of the current ruler are only for covetousness, for shedding innocent blood, and for oppression. Therefore there shall be no lamentation for him. He shall be buried with the burial of an ass, drawn and cast forth beyond the gates of Jerusalem. The wind shall eat up all the pastors, and the lovers shall go into captivity. The inhabitant of Lebanon, that makes a nest in the cedars, how gracious shalt thou be when pangs come upon thee. The history concludes with a word against Coniah, the son of Jehoiakim. He is seen as a despised, broken idol, a vessel wherein is no pleasure. He and his seed are cast out into a land which they know not. The earth is called to hear the word. Write ye this man childless, a man that shall not prosper in his days. For no man of his seed shall prosper, sitting upon the throne of David, and ruling any more in Judah. the line of the earthly kings, is reaching a dead end in the dust of the north, as the cedars of the palace are prepared for the fire, and the people are prepared for the journey into the unknown. The history moves from the doomed kings to the shepherds who have scattered the flock. A woe is pronounced against the pastors who destroy and scatter the sheep of the pasture instead of visiting them with care. The promise is given that a remnant of the flock will be gathered out of all countries whither they have been driven, and they will be brought again to their folds to be fruitful and increase. New shepherds will be set over them who shall feed them, and they shall fear no more, nor be dismayed, neither shall they be lacking. In those days, a righteous branch shall be raised unto David, a king who shall reign and prosper, and shall execute judgment and justice in the earth. In his days, Judah shall be saved, and Israel shall dwell safely, and his name shall be called the Lord our righteousness. But the current state of the prophets brings the heart of the visionary to a breaking point. His bones shake, and he is like a drunken man because of the words of the light. The land is full of those who turn toward the shadows, and because of swearing the land mourns, the pleasant places of the wilderness are dried up. Both prophet and priest are profane. Even in the house of the sanctuary, their wickedness is found. Their way shall be unto them as slippery ways in the darkness. They shall be driven on and fall therein. For evil is brought upon them in the year of their visitation. The prophets of Samaria followed after vanity and caused the people to err. But the prophets of Jerusalem have done a horrible thing. They commit adultery and walk in lies, strengthening the hands of evildoers, so that none returns from his wickedness. They are all as Sodom, and the inhabitants as Gomorrah. Therefore the prophets are fed with wormwood and made to drink the water of gall. For from them has profaneness gone forth into all the land. The people are warned not to hearken unto the words of the prophets that prophesy unto them. They speak a vision of their own heart, and not out of the mouth of the truth. They say still unto them that despise the word, Ye shall have peace. And they say unto everyone that walks after the imagination of his own heart, No evil shall come upon you, but who has stood in the counsel of the light to perceive and hear the word. A whirlwind is gone forth in fury, even a grievous whirlwind. It shall fall grievously upon the head of the wicked. The anger shall not return until the thoughts of the heart have been performed. In the latter days, the people shall consider it perfectly. The Creator asks if he is a God at hand and not a God afar off. Can any hide himself in secret places that he shall not be seen? Do not I fill heaven and earth? The words of the prophets who say, I have dreamed, are heard. How long shall this be in the heart of the prophets that prophesy lies? They think to cause the people to forget the name by their dreams, as their fathers have forgotten for Baal. The prophet that has a dream is told to tell a dream, and he that has the word is told to speak the word faithfully. What is the chaff to the wheat? The word is like a fire, and like a hammer that breaks the rock in pieces. The prophets who steal the words, every one from his neighbor, and use their tongues to say, He saith, are set as enemies. They cause the people to err by their lies, and by their lightness, yet they were never sent nor commanded. The history then describes a vision of 2 baskets of figs set before the temple. One basket had very good figs, even like the figs that are first ripe, and the other basket had very naughty figs, which could not be eaten, they were so bad. The good figs represent those who are carried away captive into the land of the Chaldeans for their good. The eyes are set upon them for good, and they will be brought again to the land. They will be built, and not pulled down, planted, and not plucked up. A heart will be given them to know the truth, and they shall be a people, for they shall return with their whole heart. But the bad figs represent Zedekiah the king, his princes, and the residue of Jerusalem that remain in the land or dwell in Egypt. They will be delivered to be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth for their hurt, to be a reproach and a proverb, a taunt and a curse, until they be consumed from off the land. In the 4th year of Jehoiakim, a word comes concerning all the people of Judah. For 23 years, from the 13th year of Josiah even unto this day, the word has been spoken, rising early and speaking, but the people have not hearkened. They were told to turn every one from his evil way, and from the evil of their doings to dwell in the land, and not to go after other gods to serve and worship them. But they provoked the light to anger with the works of their hands, to their own hurt, because they have not heard. All the families of the north and Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, are summoned. The voice of mirth and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride, the sound of the millstones and the light of the candle shall be taken away. This whole land shall be a desolation and an astonishment, and these nations shall serve the king of Babylon 70 years. The movement concludes with the image of a cup of wine of fury. The visionary is told to take this cup and cause all the nations to whom he is sent to drink it. They shall drink and be moved and be mad because of the sword that shall be sent among them. The cup is given to Jerusalem and the cities of Judah, to Egypt, to the kings of the land of Uz, to the Philistines, to Edom, to Moab, and to the children of Ammon. It is given to the kings of Tyrus and Zidon, to the isles beyond the sea, and to all the mingled people that dwell in the desert. If they refuse to take the cup to drink, they are told they shall certainly drink. Evil shall go forth from nation to nation, and a great whirlwind shall be raised up from the coasts of the earth. The slain shall be from one end of the earth, even unto the other end of the earth. They shall not be lamented, neither gathered, nor buried. They shall be dung upon the ground. The shepherds are told to howl and cry, and the principal of the flock to wallow themselves in the ashes, for the days of their slaughter are accomplished. The history moves to the courtyard of the temple in the beginning of the reign of Jehoiakim. Jeremiah is commanded to stand and speak to all the people coming from the cities of Judah. He is told not to diminish a word, for perhaps they will hearken and turn from their evil way, so that the purpose of the coming disaster might be changed. The message is a final ultimatum. If they will not walk in the law and hear the words of the servants the prophets, then the house shall be made like Shiloh, and the city shall be a curse to all the nations of the earth. When the priests and the prophets and all the people heard these words, they laid hold of him, crying out that he should surely die. They asked why he had prophesied in the name that the house should be like Shiloh, and the city should be desolate, without an inhabitant. All the people were gathered against him in the house of the Creator. When the princes of Judah heard these things, they came up from the king's house and sat in the entry of the new gate. The priests and the prophets spoke to the princes and the people, demanding the sentence of death for the man who had prophesied against the city. Jeremiah stood before the assembly and declared that the light had sent him to speak all the words they had heard. He urged them to amend their ways and their doings and obey the voice, so that the evil pronounced against them might be stayed. As for himself, he told them he was in their hands to do as seemed good and meet unto them. But he warned them to know for a certainty that if they put him to death, they would bring innocent blood upon themselves and upon the city. For in truth, he was sent to speak these words in their ears. Then the princes and all the people spoke to the priests and the prophets, saying that the man was not worthy to die, for he had spoken in the name of the light. Certain of the elders of the land rose up and spoke to the assembly, reminding them of Micah the Morasthite, who prophesied in the days of Hezekiah. Micah had said that Zion should be plowed like a field and Jerusalem should become heaps. They asked if Hezekiah and all Judah put him to death, or if they feared and besought the light until the evil was turned away. They warned that by killing Jeremiah, they might procure great evil against their own souls. There was another man, Urijah, who prophesied in the name against the city and the land according to all the words of Jeremiah. When Jehoiakim the king and his mighty men heard his words, the king sought to put him to death. Urijah heard it and was afraid, fleeing into Egypt. But the king sent men into Egypt who fetched him forth and brought him to Jehoiakim, who slew him with the sword and cast his dead body into the graves of the common people. Nevertheless, the hand of Ahikam the son of Shaphan was with Jeremiah, that they should not give him into the hand of the people to put him to death. In the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, a command comes to make bonds and yokes and put them upon the neck. These are to be sent to the kings of Edom, Moab, the Ammonites, Tyrus, and Sidon by the messengers who come to Jerusalem. They are told that the Creator has made the earth, the man, and the beast by great power, and has given it unto whom it seemed meet. Now all these lands have been given into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, the king of Babylon, the servant, and even the beasts of the field are given to him to serve him. All nations shall serve him and his son and his son's son until the time of his own land comes. The nation that will not put their neck under the yoke of the king of Babylon will be punished with the sword, the famine, and the pestilence. The kings are warned not to hearken to their prophets, their diviners, their dreamers, nor their enchanters who say they shall not serve the king of Babylon. They prophesy a lie to remove the people far from their land. But the nations that bring their neck under the yoke and serve him shall remain in their own land, until it, and dwell therein. Jeremiah spoke the same words to Zedekiah, telling him to bring his neck under the yoke and live. He asked why the king and his people should die by the sword and famine, as has been spoken against the nation that will not serve. Priests and the people are told not to hearken to the prophets who say the vessels of the house shall now shortly be brought again from Babylon, for they prophesy a lie. If they be true prophets, let them make intercession that the vessels which are yet left in the house and in the palace go not to Babylon. For the pillars, the sea, the bases, and the residue of the vessels, which Nebuchadnezzar took not when he carried away Jeconiah, shall be carried to Babylon. And there they shall be until the day they are visited. Then they shall be brought up and restored to this place. The history then records a confrontation in the house of the Creator. Hananiah the son of Azur, a prophet of Jibon, spoke to Jeremiah in the presence of the priests and all the people. He claimed that within 2 full years, the yoke of the king of Babylon would be broken, and all the vessels of the house and all the captives, including Jeconiah, would be brought again to this place. Jeremiah answered, Amen, wishing that the words might be performed. But he reminded Hananiah that the prophets of old prophesied against many countries and great kingdoms of war, of evil, and of pestilence. The prophet who prophesies of peace shall be known as truly sent only when the word comes to pass. Then Hananiah took the yoke from off Jeremiah's neck and broke it in the presence of all the people. He declared that even so would the yoke of Nebuchadnezzar be broken from the neck of all nations within the space of 2 full years. Jeremiah went his way, but the word came again, telling him to go and tell Hananiah that he had broken the yokes of wood, but he should make for them yokes of iron. For the king of Babylon has been given a yoke of iron upon the neck of all these nations. Hananiah was told that because he made the people trust in a lie, he would be cast from off the face of the earth and die within the year. In the 7th month of that same year, Hananiah the prophet died, leaving the people to face the iron reality he had tried to wish away. The history follows the path of a letter sent from Jerusalem to the elders, the priests, the prophets, and all the people who had been carried away captive to Babylon. This message was carried by the hand of Elasah and Gemariah, whom King Zedekiah sent to the court of Nebuchadnezzar. The word to the exiles was not one of immediate rescue, but of endurance and settled life. They were told to build houses and dwell in them, to plant gardens and eat the fruit of them, and to take wives and beget sons and daughters. They were to seek the peace of the city where they had been carried captive and pray for it. For in the peace of that land, they would find their own peace. The people were warned not to let the prophets and diviners who stayed among them deceive them with dreams, for they prophesied falsely. The true count of the seasons was revealed. Only after 70 years were accomplished at Babylon would the people be visited, and the good word performed to bring them back to their own place. For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, thoughts of peace, and not of evil, to give you an expected end. In those days, the people would call and pray, and they would be heard. They would seek and find when they searched with their whole heart. The captivity would be turned away, and the gathered people would return from all the nations and places where they had been driven. But a hard word was sent concerning the king sitting on the throne of David, and the people still dwelling in Jerusalem who had not gone into captivity. They were likened to vile figs that cannot be eaten, pursued by the sword, the famine, and the pestilence, until they became a curse and an astonishment among all kingdoms. This was because they had not hearkened to the words of the servants the prophets, rising up early and sending them. Specifically, a judgment was pronounced against Shemaiah the Nehelamite, who had sent letters in his own name to the priests in Jerusalem, rebuking them for not putting Jeremiah in the stocks. Because Shemaiah taught rebellion and made the people trust in a lie, he was told he would not have a man to dwell among the people, nor behold the good that would be done for the nation. The narration then shifts to the Book of Consolation, a collection of words written in a book to preserve the promise of a future return. The days come when the captivity of Israel and Judah will be brought again to the land of their fathers. A voice of trembling and of fear is heard, and not of peace. All faces are turned into paleness, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he shall be saved out of it. The yoke will be broken from off the neck, and the bonds burst, and the people shall serve their own king, whom the light will raise up unto them. Therefore fear thou not, O my servant Jacob, neither be dismayed, O Israel. For lo, I will save thee from afar, though a full end is made of all nations whither the people were scattered. A full end will not be made of the remnant. They will be corrected in measure, but not left altogether unpunished. The bruise is described as incurable, and the wound as grievous, with none to plead the cause or provide binding medicines. All lovers have forgotten the city and seek her not, for she has been wounded with the wound of an enemy. But the health will be restored and the wounds healed, because they called her an outcast, saying, This is Zion, whom no man seeketh after. The city shall be builded upon her own heap, and the palace shall remain after the manner thereof. Out of them shall proceed thanksgiving, and the voice of them that make merry. The people will be multiplied, and not be few. They will be glorified, and not be small. Their children shall be as aforetime, and their congregation shall be established. Their nobles shall be of themselves, and their governor shall proceed from the midst of them. And ye shall be my people, and I will be your God. The fierce anger remains like a continuing whirlwind upon the head of the wicked, until the intents of the heart have been performed. But in the latter days, the people shall consider it. The love of the Creator is described as an everlasting love, and with loving kindness are the people drawn back. The Virgin of Israel shall again be adorned with tabrets, and go forth in the dances of them that make merry. The watchmen upon the Mount Ephraim shall cry, Arise ye, and let us go up to Zion. The remnant is gathered from the coasts of the earth, including the blind and the lame, the woman with child and her that travails with child together, a great company shall return. They shall come with weeping and with supplications, led by rivers of waters, in a straight way wherein they shall not stumble. They shall come and sing in the height of Zion, and shall flow together to the goodness of the grain, the wine, the oil, and the young of the flock. Their soul shall be as a watered garden, and they shall not sorrow any more at all. The virgin shall rejoice in the dance, both young men and old together, for their mourning will be turned into joy. A voice was heard in Ramah, lamentation and bitter weeping. Rachel, weeping for her children, refused to be comforted because they were not. But the voice says, refrain thy voice from weeping, and thine eyes from tears, for thy work shall be rewarded, and they shall come again from the land of the enemy. There is hope in the end that the children shall come again to their own border. Ephraim is heard bemoaning himself, asking to be turned, that he may be turned. The Creator asks if Ephraim is a dear son or a pleasant child, for since the speaking against him, he is still earnestly remembered. The bowels are troubled for him, and mercy will surely be shown. The movement ends with the command to set up waymarks and make high heaps, to set the heart toward the highway, even the way which the people went. The backsliding daughter is told to return to these her cities, for a new thing is created in the earth. The history moves into a season of a new beginning, as a word comes concerning the days that are approaching. The metaphor of the farmer is used to describe the transition. Just as there was a time to pluck up and to break down, so now there is a time to build and to plant. A shift in responsibility is announced. For the people shall no longer say that the fathers have eaten a sour grape, and the children's teeth are set on edge. Instead, every man shall account for his own path. The one who eats the sour grape, his teeth shall be set on edge. This marks the end of a long history of inherited failure, and the start of a personal turning toward the truth. A new covenant is promised, one that is not like the covenant made when the people were led by the hand out of the land of Egypt. That ancient agreement was broken, though it was established with the care of a husband. The new promise will not be written on tablets of stone or in books of law that can be lost or ignored. I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. In those days, a man shall not need to teach his neighbor or his brother to know the light, for they shall all know the truth, from the least of them unto the greatest. Their iniquity will be forgiven, and their sin will be remembered no more. The permanence of this promise is measured against the fixed orders of the natural world. As long as the sun gives light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and stars give light by night, and as long as the sea roars and the waves toss, so long shall the seed of Israel remain a nation. If the heavens above can be measured, or the foundations of the earth searched out beneath, only then would the people be cast off for all that they have done. The city of Jerusalem shall be built again, from the tower of Hananeel unto the gate of the corner, and the measuring line shall yet go forth over against it. The whole valley of the dead bodies and of the ashes And all the fields unto the brook of Kidron shall be holy, and it shall not be plucked up nor thrown down any more forever. The narration then finds Jeremiah in a difficult and narrow place. He is shut up in the court of the prison, which was in the king of Judah's house, because Zedekiah was displeased with his words. The king asked why he prophesied that the city would be given into the hand of the king of Babylon, and that Zedekiah himself would not escape. While in this confinement, a specific command comes to the messenger. His cousin Hanameel will come to him, asking him to buy a field in Anathoth, for the right of redemption is his. This is a strange request to make of a man in prison while a foreign army surrounds the city. Yet Jeremiah recognizes it as the word he was waiting for. He buys the field for 17 shekels of silver, weighing the money in the balances. He subscribes the evidence and seals it, taking witnesses and weighing the silver. The evidence of the purchase, both that which was sealed according to the law and that which was open, is given to Baruch the son of Neriah in the sight of all the witnesses. Baruch is told to take these evidences and put them in an earthen vessel, that they may continue many days. For the promise is clear: houses and fields and vineyards shall be possessed again in this land. This act of buying a field in a doomed territory is the ultimate sign of hope, a physical stake in a future that others cannot yet see. After delivering the evidence, Jeremiah pours out a prayer, acknowledging the great power that made the heaven and the earth. He admits that there is nothing too hard for the Creator, who shows loving kindness unto thousands, but also recompenses the iniquity of the fathers into the bosom of their children. He describes the eyes that are open upon all the ways of the sons of men, to give everyone according to his doings. He recounts the signs and wonders in Egypt, and the strong hand that brought the people into a land flowing with milk and honey. But the people obeyed not. And now the mounts of the siege are come unto the city to take it. He asks, with the city given over to the sword and famine? And thou hast said unto me, O Lord, buy thee the field for money, and take witnesses. The answer comes as a firm reassurance. Behold, I am the light, the God of all flesh. Is there anything too hard for me? The city will indeed be given into the hand of the Chaldeans, and into the hand of Nebuchadnezzar, who shall burn it, and the houses upon whose roofs they offered incense unto Baal. Because of the provocations of the children of Israel and Judah from their youth, the city is marked for removal. They have turned their back and not their face, and though they were taught, rising up early, they have not hearkened to receive instruction. They set their abominations in the house, and built high places in the valley of Hinnom, to cause their sons and daughters to pass through the fire, a thing that was never commanded. Yet even from this depth of failure, a gathering is promised. The people will be brought again from all the countries whither they were driven in anger and in great wrath, and they shall be caused to dwell safely. A single heart and a single way will be given to them, that they may fear the truth forever for the good of them and their children. An everlasting covenant will be made, and the heart will be stayed, so that they shall not depart. I will rejoice over them to do them good, and I will plant them in this land assuredly with my whole heart and with my whole soul. Just as the great evil was brought, so shall all the promised good be brought. Fields shall be bought in this land, whereof the people say, It is desolate, without man or beast. Men shall buy fields for money, subscribe evidences, and seal them in the land of Benjamin and in the places about Jerusalem, for the captivity will be turned back. The history remains within the narrow walls of the prison court, where the word comes a second time, while the city is still besieged. The Creator, the Maker of the earth, and the one who formed it to establish it, calls out to the messenger, Call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show thee great and mighty things, which thou knowest not, the houses of the city and the palaces of the kings, which have been thrown down to make a defense against the mounts, and the sword of the Chaldeans, are now full of the dead bodies of the men whom the light has slain in anger. Because of all the wickedness, the face has been hidden from the city, leaving it to the consequences of its own choices. But a promise of health and cure is spoken, a binding of wounds that seems impossible as the enemy hammers at the gates. The captivity of Judah and the captivity of Israel will be turned, and they will be built as at the first. They will be cleansed from all their iniquity, whereby they have sinned, and whereby they have transgressed. The city shall be a name of joy, a praise and an honor before all the nations of the earth, which shall hear of all the good that is done. They shall fear and tremble for all the goodness, and for all the prosperity that is procured for it. In the places which the people say are desolate, without man and without beast, there shall be heard again the voice of joy and the voice of gladness, the voice of the bridegroom and the voice of the bride. The voice of them that shall say, Praise the light of hosts, for the light is good, for his mercy endureth forever. In the cities of the mountains, in the cities of the vale, and in the cities of the south, the flocks shall pass again under the hands of him that tells them. The good thing which was promised to the house of Israel and the house of Judah will be performed. In those days and at that time, the branch of righteousness will grow up unto David, and he shall execute judgment and righteousness in the land. Judah shall be saved, and Jerusalem shall dwell safely. And the name by which she shall be called is, The Lord our righteousness. The covenant with David, and the covenant with the priests and the Levites, is as firm as the covenant of the day and the night. If the day and night can be broken in their season, then also can the promise be broken. But until then, the seed shall be as the host of heaven, which cannot be numbered. The narration then shifts to a specific moment of broken faith within the city walls. King Zedekiah had made a covenant with all the people to proclaim liberty, that every man should let his manservant, and every man his maidservant, being in Hebrew or in Hebrews, go free. The princes and the people had obeyed and let them go. But afterward they turned and caused the servants whom they had set at liberty to return, bringing them into subjection again. This betrayal of the poor and the breaking of the solemn word brings a heavy decree. Because the people did not hearken to proclaim liberty, A liberty is proclaimed for them to the sword, to the pestilence, and to the famine. They shall be removed into all the kingdoms of the earth, and the princes who passed between the parts of the divided calf in their oath shall be given into the hand of their enemies. The story introduces a contrast in the house of the Rechabites. Jeremiah is told to go to them and bring them into the house of the Creator, into one of the chambers, and give them wine to drink. He sets before the sons of the house of the Rechabites pots full of wine and cups, and says to them, "Drink ye wine." But they refuse, saying that Jonadab the son of Rechab, their father, commanded them that they should drink no wine, neither they nor their sons forever. They were told not to build houses, nor sow seed, nor plant vineyards, but to dwell in tents all their days, so they might live long in the land. They had obeyed the voice of their father in all that he charged them, only coming into Jerusalem for fear of the army of the Chaldeans. The obedience of the Rechabites is held up as a mirror to the disobedience of Judah. The words of Jonadab have been performed for generations, but though the Creator has spoken, rising early and speaking, the people have not hearkened. The sons of Jonadab have kept the commandment of their father, but this people has not kept the commandment of their Maker. Therefore, all the evil pronounced will be brought upon Judah and Jerusalem, but to the house of the Rechabites a blessing is given, because they have obeyed the commandment and kept all the precepts. Jonadab the son of Rechab shall not want a man to stand before the light forever. This is the lore of the faithful remnant, where the discipline of a nomad family puts to shame the hollow rituals of a settled kingdom. The history concludes with the command to take a roll of a book and write therein all the words that have been spoken against Israel, against Judah, and against all the nations from the days of Josiah even unto this day. It may be that the house of Judah will hear all the evil which is purposed and return every man from his evil way, that their iniquity may be forgiven. Jeremiah calls Baruch the son of Neriah, and Baruch writes from the mouth of the messenger all the words upon a roll of a book. Because Jeremiah is shut up and cannot go into the house, he tells Baruch to go and read in the roll in the ears of the people upon the fasting day. Baruch does according to all that is commanded, reading the words in the house of the Creator, while the shadows of the siege deepen and the scroll of the future begins to unfurl. The history moves to a cold winter day in the 9th month, as the scroll written by Baruch is brought before the leaders of the land. A fast had been proclaimed for all the people in Jerusalem, and Baruch stood in the entry of the new gate, reading the words of the vision to the assembled crowd. When Micaiah heard the words, he went down to the king's house and told the princes all that he had heard. The princes then sent for Baruch, commanding him to bring the roll, and read it in their ears. As they listened to the warnings of the coming storm, they were afraid and turned to one another, realizing they must tell the king of these matters. They asked Baruch how he had written the words, and he answered that the messenger had pronounced them with his mouth, and he had written them with ink in the book. Princes told Baruch and Jeremiah to go and hide themselves, letting no man know where they were. They then went to the king, who was sitting in his winter house with a fire burning in the hearth before him. As the official Jehudi read 3 or 4 leaves of the scroll, the king took a penknife and cut the parchment, casting it into the fire that was on the hearth until the entire roll was consumed. There was no fear or rending of garments among the king and his servants as they watched the words turn to ash, though some of the princes made intercession that the roll should not be burned. The king would not hear them. He commanded that Baruch and the messenger be taken, but they were hidden and could not be found. After the roll was burned, the word came again to take another roll and write in it all the former words that were in the first. A specific judgment was pronounced against King Jehoiakim. He would have none to sit upon the throne of David, and his dead body would be cast out in the day to the heat, and in the night to the frost. The second roll was written, and many like words were added unto them, for the truth cannot be destroyed by the flames of a hearth. The story then shifts to the reign of Zedekiah, who did not hearken to the words any more than those before him. As the Egyptian army moved to help Jerusalem, the Chaldeans who besieged the city departed for a time. Zedekiah sent to ask for prayer, but the answer was that the Egyptians would return to their own land, and the Chaldeans would come again to fight against the city and burn it with fire. When the army of the Chaldeans was broken up from Jerusalem for fear of Pharaoh's army, Jeremiah sought to go out of the city to the land of Benjamin to separate himself. But at the gate of Benjamin, a captain of the ward took him, accusing him of falling away to the Chaldeans. Despite his denial, he was brought to the princes, who were wroth and smote him, putting him in prison in the house of Jonathan the scribe. He remained in the dungeon and in the cabins for many days, until King Zedekiah sent and took him out privately to ask if there was any word from the light. The messenger answered, "There is, for thou shalt be delivered into the hand of the king of Babylon." Jeremiah asked the king what he had offended against him, or the people that he should be put in prison. He asked where the prophets were who had told them the king of Babylon would not come. He pleaded not to be sent back to the house of the scribe, lest he die there. The king commanded that he be committed into the court of the prison, and that they should give him daily a piece of bread out of the baker's street, until all the bread in the city was spent. Thus the messenger remained in the court of the prison, while the famine began to tighten its grip on the inhabitants. The princes of the city, hearing that Jeremiah continued to tell the people to go out to the Chaldeans to save their lives, spoke to the king. They claimed the man weakened the hands of the men of war and sought not the welfare of the people, but their hurt. The king, feeling powerless against his own nobles, told them the man was in their hand. They took him and cast him into the dungeon of Malchiah that was in the court of the prison, letting him down with cords. In the dungeon there was no water, but only mire, and the messenger sank in the mud. It seemed his voice would finally be silenced in the darkness of the earth, but a man named Ebed-Melech, an Ethiopian and a eunuch in the king's house, heard that they had put the messenger in the dungeon. he went to the king and told him that these men had done evil in casting the prophet into the pit, for he was likely to die of hunger. The king commanded Ebed-melech to take 30 men and take the messenger up from the dungeon before he died. Ebed-melech took old cast clouts and rotten rags and let them down by cords, telling the man to put them under his armholes under the cords. They drew him up out of the mire and took him back to the court of the prison. The history concludes with a final secret meeting between the king and the messenger at the third entry of the house. The king asked for the truth and promised not to put him to death. Jeremiah told him that if he would go forth to the king of Babylon's princes, his soul would live and the city would not be burned. But if he would not go forth, the city would be given to the Chaldeans, and he would not escape. Zedekiah admitted he was afraid of the Jews who had already fallen to the enemy, fearing they would mock him. He was told to obey the voice so it would be well with him, but he remained divided in his heart. He commanded the messenger to tell the princes only that he had requested not to be sent back to the scribe's house. Jeremiah remained in the court of the prison until the day that Jerusalem was taken. The history reaches its final, heavy movement in the 9th year of Zedekiah's reign, as the walls of Jerusalem are finally breached. The army of the Chaldeans had built forts against the city round about, and the famine had become so sore that there was no bread for the people of the land. In the middle of the night, the city was broken up, and all the men of war fled by way of the gate between the two walls. They went toward the plain, but the army of the Chaldeans pursued the king and overtook him in the plains of Jericho. His entire army was scattered from him, and he was taken to Riblah, where the king of Babylon sat in judgment. There, the sons of Zedekiah were slain before his eyes, and then his own eyes were put out. He was bound in chains and carried to Babylon, where he remained in prison until the day of his death. The captain of the guard, Nebuzaradan, arrived in Jerusalem to carry out the final destruction. He burned the house of the Creator, the king's palace, and all the great houses of the city with fire. The army broke down the walls of Jerusalem on every side. The remaining people, including those who had fallen away to the enemy, were carried away captive, leaving only the poorest of the land to be vine dressers and husbandmen. The great brass pillars of the temple, the ornate sea, and the bases were broken in pieces, and the brass carried to Babylon. The golden and silver vessels were taken, and the leaders of the city were brought to Riblah and put to death. Thus, the land was emptied of its glory, and the silence of desolation settled over the hills of Judah. But in the midst of this ruins, a word of kindness was spoken toward Jeremiah. The king of Babylon gave charge to the captain of the guard to look well to him and do him no harm, but to deal with him as he should say. The messenger was taken out of the court of the prison and committed unto Gedaliah, the governor appointed over the cities, to carry him home. He dwelt among the people who were left in the land. A promise was also fulfilled for Ebed-melech, the Ethiopian, who had saved him from the mire. He was told that because he had put his trust in the truth, his life would be given to him for a prey, and he would not fall by the sword of the men he feared. Jedaliah, a man of peace, urged the remnant to stay in the land and serve the king of Babylon, promising it would be well with them. They gathered wine and summer fruits in great abundance, and many who had fled to Moab and Ammon returned to the land. But a dark conspiracy was brewing. Ishmael, a man of the royal seed, came with 10 men and slew Jedaliah at a feast, along with the Jews and the Chaldeans who were with him. He then took the residue of the people captive to carry them toward the Ammonites, though a man named Johanan pursued Ishmael and recovered the captives. The people were now afraid of the wrath of the Chaldeans because of the governor's murder. The people came to Jeremiah and asked him to pray that they might know the way they should walk. They swore they would obey the voice, whether it was good or evil. After 10 days, the answer came. They were told to remain in the land and not be afraid of the king of Babylon, for the Creator was with them to deliver them. If they stayed, they would be built up and not pulled down. But if they set their faces to go into Egypt to escape the sword and famine, then the very sword they feared would follow them there, and they would die in the land of Egypt. The people, led by Johanan, refused to listen, accusing the messenger of speaking falsely. They took all the remnant, including Jeremiah and Baruch, and went into the land of Egypt, coming even to Tapanhes. In Egypt, the word came one last time. Jeremiah was told to take great stones and hide them in the clay of the brick kiln at the entry of Pharaoh's house. He told the people that Nebuchadnezzar would come and set his throne upon those very stones, spreading his royal pavilion over them. He would smite the land of Egypt and burn the houses of their gods with fire. The people were rebuked for continuing to burn incense to the Queen of Heaven in a strange land, forgetting the desolation that had come upon Jerusalem for the same reason. They answered that they would continue as they had done, for then they had plenty of bread and saw no evil. The final sign given to them was the death of Pharaoh Hophra, showing that their refuge in Egypt was as hollow as their rituals in Judah. The narration follows the remnant as they disappear into the sands of history. But a final note of hope is recorded in the 37th year of the captivity. Evil Merodach, the king of Babylon, in the year that he began to reign, lifted up the head of Jehoiachin, the former king of Judah, out of prison. He spoke kindly to him and set his throne above the thrones of the other kings who were with him in Babylon. He changed his prison garments, and the king ate bread before him continually all the days of his life. A daily diet was given him by the king of Babylon until the day of his death. The long account of Jeremiah ends with this small gesture of mercy in a far-off land. The city was in ruins, and the people were scattered, but the line was not utterly cut off, and the word that had been written in the heart remained. The history of the breaking of the clay was complete, but the promise of the potter to one day reshape the vessel lingered in the silence of the exile.